And so we're going to look at a number of different key areas that we had surveyed students on, including what they're saying about school, how they feel about their ability to excel in school, and the impact of their peer group on them, and how virtual learning can support, or in some cases inhibit that. So Kathy's going to walk us through some of the results, and we'll share some anecdotal stories with you about students that we've had the opportunity to visit across the country in the schools that we support.
We're going to start with our traditional school students. These were students across the country, but not clients of Aventa. So we're going to look at 500 of those and see what they think about their traditional education. These teens are clearly challenging the system. They want to do it in a different way. With the budget cuts that are sweeping this country, I mean, massive budget cuts, school district after school district are eliminating the things that keep this generation of students hooked in. Electives, flexibility, the things that meet their needs. And overwhelmingly, they want those things back, or they want even more of them. They also prefer to engage with all of their senses. They don't want to just listen passively in the seat. They want to see and do and listen in order to learn. That's not surprising. As we get to be adults, we also don't like to sit and just, we call it sit and get. Well, we also want to participate in our learning. Many of our students, as you can see here, want flexibility. They're maybe trapped at home caring for an ill parent. They might have to work. We've had cases where students are afraid to go to school because of either bullying, or a particular girl I'm thinking of whose boyfriend attacked her at school and she's scared to death to go back. Some of our students just want to play sports and they can't get into that chemistry class that's offered at the same period as their sports program. So there are many, many reasons that they increasingly want these flexible schedules.
And Kathy, it's important to point out that these kids are so digitally native, right, that they really have a high demand for good quality. And when they go online, they're very discriminate about where they spend their time. And so it's important when you're engaging them virtually in an academic manner that you do so in a way that meets them where they're used to being outside of school.
As a teacher, I know it strikes terror in my heart, but I have to produce materials, lessons, lectures, PowerPoints that can compete with the likes of what they see on television and empty video, and huge comparisons there. You can understand why they glaze over when they walk into too many classrooms. These students are also feeling, as the title says, lost in the shuffle. They want help, and very few of them feel that they're getting it in the classroom. Again, having been a teacher, I know what it's like when you've got 35 faces looking at you, all needing something different right now, and you have 50 minutes to deliver it. So it's hard for students to get that kind of individual attention, and they clearly know that they need it. As well as the students who are doing well. They feel like they're not getting the challenge. They are sitting and waiting for other students as other students are beginning to understand. So this is also going to contribute to boredom that we're going to see coming later. And most students actually have to ask for help. They have to seek out the teacher and ask. That is different than we're seeing in online education, where the teacher is able to be proactive, moving in before the student has to raise their hand and say, I need help.
And we see this anecdotally with the feedback that we get from the students and the administrators of the schools that we support. Right? I mean, we hear from these students about how, it's the best class they've ever taken because the teacher was proactive in reaching out to them based on the data that they were able to see based on the student's performance. Or from an administrator's perspective, they have kids that couldn't complete or didn't complete or for whatever reason chose not to complete a brick and mortar class, and now they're completing virtual classes at a much faster pace than they were going through the traditional system. So to your point earlier, Kathi, it really does allow students to go faster or slower depending on who they are and where they are.
And I've heard the same thing from parents who say, this is the first time my student has ever had a relationship with a teacher. That's probably that quiet student that sits at the back of the room and kind of blends into the wall. And the nice thing about being online is that you can't blend in. Somebody is watching your performance and your interaction and how quickly you're moving and whether or not you understand things daily.
And that's very counterintuitive, I think, to a lot of people. They think of online learning and they think of it as a very alienating or non-socialized experience. But to your point, we're hearing from these families and students and administrators that the deep connection they're making with their teachers is really the key to their success.
I cannot emphasize that enough. It's a myth. I mean, and hopefully today we can do some myth busting. But the myth is you're working like a little drone at your computer all alone, completely isolated from the world, when it's actually, frankly, almost just the opposite. So let's talk about those daily concerns of school.